A Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone, for teaching us his truth and salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquatim and listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will is always an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of just wanted to discuss this word I came across. It's called hyperphagia, and kind of going to discuss that word and the contrast between our people's mindset, right? So let me start out by defining what the word actually means. So hyperphagia is a phenomenon that is practiced by certain animals such as bears. So I'm just going to read from this website, and I sincerely pray and hope that this lesson is edifying, right? So just bear with me on this. I just want to define the word just to bring more clarity and kind of how it relates to, in contrast to our people's mindset. Just to show you that there's something very interesting that animals do during particular times. So, so this is on nps.gov. It says, as the summer season ends and the air becomes crisp, leaves change from the fall from trees, and bears become more active. They are on the hunt for food. During the fall months, bears eat and drink nearly non-stop. It says they need to put on weight to prepare for the winter and hibernation. This process is known as hyperphagia. Okay, so I don't think the word was in the etymology, so I want to break down the word. And so hyper, the prefix, it means over. It means thoroughly go over. It says overdoing. So if something is above normal, right? So then you have the norm, and then you have something that is above the normal. So for example, you have hypertension. So when somebody has like high blood pressure, right? So, and the other portion of the word phagia. So I typed in phagic in the Greek. So phagic in the Greek means to eat. It means to devour, a thing that devours. So when you put the two together, it's essentially an overeating, an overconsumption, right? So let me go back to my original site here. Just bear with me. So here it says, during hyperphagia, bears are very active and many visitors have the chance to see them in action, right? So lower down it says, most bears hibernate or den during the winter months. The length of denning depends on location and can vary from a few days or weeks or months or more. So it says, bens make their dens in hollow trees or logs, under the root mass of a tree, in rock crevices, or in the tree in warmer climates. During their slumber, their bodies drop in body temperature, pulse rate, and respiration. Their bodies use the fat they stored in the summer and fall as energy. So this is very, very crucial here. So what the bears do, and what is very interesting, is that there is a method of preparation that they go through, because they know there's going to be a time they're not going to be as hunting for food. They're going to be very they're going to be very dormant, so to speak. They're not going to be giving out a lot of energy. But the point is, there's a sense of urgency and preparation when they see those months come around, right? So how does this relate to our people now? Let me get a precept, because I'm saying this to say that the bears have an understanding of the seasons. Not just bears, but I'm just using bears as an example. You have other animals that do this, Like I was just reading the groundhog and some other mammals, perform a similar thing where they put on and store a lot of fat prior to a time when there's going to be a scarcity of food, when they're going to be more dormant, they're not going to be hunting as much, right? So even the bears and a lot of the animals understand that they're essentially they're aware of the signs and the seasons when they have to make certain adjustments and preparations in order to kind of essentially get through that time of cold months when they're not going to be as active, when there's not going to be as food, as much berries or much nuts or fruits that are on the trees, right? So um, let me go to the book of Jeremiah just to kind of solidify the point, because how does this kind of equate to our people today? Our people will see, certain things going on in the environment and seeing the environment change. So common points, through our apostles and elders bring out, you have, like the scriptures talk about sedition among men, wars and rumors of wars. There is Egyptian against Egyptian. There is spirits creative vengeance. All these different things are causing, and we're realizing there's a change in the environment of what's occurring, but our people essentially ignore these things. Like the scriptures say that a prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself. So this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 8, verse 7. And it says, Yea, the stork in the heaven knoweth her appointed times, which is a bird. And it says, the turtle and the crane and the swallow observe the time of their coming. But my people do not know the judgment of the Lord Yahweh. So let me get that in the not the KJV, excuse me. I want to get it in the, let me get it in the NLT. Let me just see how that comes across. Just bear with me. Okay, so Jeremiah 8 verse 7 in the NLT, it says, even the stork that flies across the sky knows the time of her migration, as do the turtle dove and the swallow and the crane. But they all return to the proper time each year, but not my people. They do not know the Lord's laws, right? So it shows you that even the animals have an understanding of preparation, migration. They're observing the things and the signs in the heavens of what's going on to actually make adjustments and migration patterns. They pay attention to their surroundings. There's a more overall awareness of what goes on. But when it comes to knowing the nature of the Heavenly Father and actually observing the things that are going on around them, our people are more in that kind of how does that Biggie song go? It's a party and bullshit type of spirit. They're in the house of mirth constantly, to the point where they don't even see and understand that A, they have an enemy, and then B, you have these elites that are coming upon the earth, bringing their wicked agenda, bringing their wicked devices, right? The scriptures say that turn thou, O Jacob, that thou mayest be illuminated. That is the point of seeing the apostles, prophets, and so on and so forth on the highways and byways, because it's supposed to help and galvanize you to essentially come back to the Lord and seek refuge, right? So as a matter of fact, let me get that next. So I'm just showing the parallels between, even the animals have that type of understanding, but not our people. Our people are very, very sottish. Like the scriptures say, they are wise to do evil, but to do good, they have no knowledge of that. This is Isaiah 55. As a matter of fact, I'll start at 1, and I'll jump down to, I'll just start at 1. me go back to the KJV. Just bear with me 1 second. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Okay, Isaiah 55 verse 1, and it says, "Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that hath no money, come ye and eat and buy wine and milk without money and without price." So, you know, um, what's interesting is that the spirit, through our apostles and elders, they always push out this sentiment of pushing out lessons and sit downs and so on and so forth, being out there, because it's information that's essentially supposed to help our people, to galvanize them and essentially lead them back to knowing Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? It's not to like our people take it, as as Paul said, our people, they think we're, because we speak very rough, they take it in a bad sentiment, but it's actually to actually help you so you can receive mercy. And what's interesting about this precept, it says, "Come ye and buy, come ye and buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without price," right? So come and get this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, because that is going to help you to sustain, those times where there's going to be a lack of food, but also there's going to be a lack of spiritual food also, because you not only do you need the physical, but you also need, most importantly, the spiritual as well, right? So um I'll just jump down to verse 6, and it says, "Seek ye the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai while he may be found, call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our power, for he will abundantly pardon," right? So our people, that is the objective, because they don't understand that, there's a lot of judgments playing out, to this day. There is signs in the heavens, there are disasters, earthquakes, infighting amongst the people, protests. There's, so much going on in the environment, but our people are strongly, enchanted, by the wine that is spilled forth by Babylon, and they're very, very unaware. That's another thing I've also noticed. Our people are very unaware, and there's a very lack of consideration of knowing what the prophets actually say. They kind of cast it behind their back, right? And that's the Lord really is a symbol of compassion, really, when you see the prophets out there. Okay, let me just read this here. I was having a conversation with a Cushite one time, and he said to me, it's very, very, important to know your history. But from my experience, one of the things I've noticed is the fact that, when it comes to our people, they don't give a shit about their own history. They don't care to know. They don't care. They don't, like, as the scriptures say. As a matter of fact, let me get that first. Isaiah 1. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 3, and it says, "The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters, that have forsaken the Lord, and they have provoked the Holy One of Israel to anger. They have gone away backward," right? So our people don't consider what's going on in the environment. Even the animals do that, right? And we're supposed to be people that have reason and understanding. Like, we're the pinnacle we're the chosen species upon the face of the planet Earth. But imagine that you have a chosen species. They are so far gone to the point where they don't actually consider, their own history. They don't consider where they come from, and there is very little attempt to actually try and find out, right? That's from noticing in my own experience, right? I had a Cushite that told me recently he noticed, it's so important for us to know your history. He told me this recently, and he also said how it is it's power in knowing it, because then you avoid making the same mistakes you did in the past. And Jake doesn't see the value in knowing your own history. They only see the value in, trying to get a lot of money right now. Let me start up my own business. Let me, go to these, public school systems. And which, by the way, I'm noticing with a lot of these generations, like for example, you have Gen Z, a lot of their positions and their degrees that they're subscribed to, sorry, that they enrolled for, a lot of their degrees that they study for is now becoming obsolete. It's becoming phased out by AI, and a lot of their stuff that they studied was absolutely worthless, right? So you start to see that. And then on top of that, because they spent money for which is not bread, as the scriptures say, they have essentially have no um spiritual riches within their spirit. They have no there's a bankruptcy still in the spirit, because they don't know how to maneuver or how to actually move or pivot forth, right? So that's why the scriptures say that wisdom really and truly is the principal thing, right? So okay, so let me go to, I was just in Judges, so I just wanted to read this. This is Judges chapter 6, verse 1, and it says, "And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel because of the Midianites. The children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains and caves and strongholds. And so it was, when Israel had sown, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites and the children of the east even came up against them, and they encamped against them and destroyed the increase of the earth, till thou come unto Gaza, and left no sustenance, neither sheep nor ox nor ass," which is this is very important. So they got rid of a lot of the things that you would use to actually for food. You use the wool, you use that for clothing, that helps to keep you warmth, that is to add some warmth, but you also use sheep, cattle, for food, right? So verse 5, and it says, "And they came up with their cattle in their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for multitude, for both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Israel cried unto the Lord," right? So that's what's very interesting when I read this. When they had no more sustenance, isn't that as in that physical sustenance, then they started to cry upon to the Lord, right? So and this is me speaking as a young man. A lot of our people are going to think about calling upon the Lord, when there is no opportunity to actually enter into a grocery store or anything like that. Then they're going to want to seek the Lord, right? Like, this is really important, because like we live in a time where Esau, he wants to put a grain of rice in the people, and our people don't have any sustenance. They have very little sustenance physically, but even worse, they don't have any spiritual sustenance, right? So the scriptures say that man should not live by bread alone. As a matter of fact, I guess I'll end off with that one. And it says Luke 4:4, and it says, Yahweh answered him, saying, It is written that man should not live by bread alone, but by every word of the Most High, right? So our people don't have that, that spiritual substance to be able to, guide them through in moments when they're lacking, to get them through that, so a lot of people are going to get caught up in a lot of judgments because they haven't taken the opportunity to enrich, themselves, and have a deeper relationship with the Lord and seek of the Lord while he may be found, right? So um that's pretty much it. That was just something I kind of just wanted to show some parallels between, because even the animals have that kind of understanding of essentially excuse me, discerning the times of their environment and what happens. They're very, very circumspect, especially like animals of prey, like goats, animals that can get preyed upon very easily, rabbits and all that kind of stuff. They're very, they pay attention to their surroundings and so on and so forth. They're not as careless as our people, right? Our people are not very circumspect. They're not very aware, and they're not very aware of their own enemy, right? So this is why our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. But anyways, that's pretty much it. But Lord's will, as always, this lesson was edifying. I'd just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Until next time, I say Shalom.